I'm not saying his elevator don't go all the way to the top. What I'm saying is I don't think he has any stairs.
All right, guys, let's do something fun. There was a great question came in, and it says, if you are all so grumpy, what in life makes you grumpy? And I'm going to tell you, COVID makes me grumpy, for one. I'm going to have to trim this mustache way back when I finally go back to school, because if I wear a mask all day, it goes right in my mouth. I cannot keep it where it's supposed to be. So that's going to really suck to do that. But the older I get, the easily frustrated and agitated I get when something doesn't go right. And you see that in older people, and it just makes you grumpy. Our bones hurt and everything else because we're old. And when technology doesn't work, and which has been the case a lot of days in COVID, since I'm trying to do remote teaching, it makes me grumpy when something doesn't work right. If I'm editing a video and the sound's not right, whatever it happens to be. So that's what's making me grumpy these days. And I don't think that's going to change. Hopefully the COVID part changes, but it's just when something doesn't go your way, the older you get, it's harder and harder to deal with that for some reason. I used to be the most patient person, and I still am in a way, but I can definitely tell that things have changed a lot over the past 10 years or so. Anybody else want to jump in? What makes you grumpy, Andy?
I think people that ask that question don't have enough life experience to understand why once a person reaches a certain age, they become grumpy. The positivity movement, you will notice, is led largely by young folks that have not been beaten down by the failures and the disappointments in life. They haven't had that middle of the night phone call, someone trying to get them out of bed to come bail them out of jail. They haven't been pulled over by an eager-beager police officer that's trying to do his job, and you just want to get to work. And it's like, there's nothing in my car that anybody would care about. So why are you slowing me down? Then of course there's your favorite sports team, politics, religion. I mean, there's all sorts of things. You don't really have to be narrow-minded about it. Just you can be open-minded and still embrace your inner grouch. So that would be my response to that, you stupid millennial.
Dang millennials. Joe, why are you grumpy, man?
I think it was, I wouldn't have come to that observation of Andy's, but I think he's spot on there. I'm going to go much more micro with a couple of things because they repeat. Going into Walmart and watching people have a discussion like they're at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks, right at like the opening of an aisle or in the middle of. I have a big Walmart, but Walmart's about a 2 basket if you're lucky with aisle in most aisles. And if you're going to have a discussion in the middle or at the beginning, that just and I have exchanged words and my inner nasty. My inner imp has come out for sure with a little bit of a nasty edge to it. So that, and then to kind of play off of that is crowds. I hate crowds, man. I just cannot stand crowds. COVID has, I would not be so ridiculous to call it a blessing, but I am a homebody. So, it has not impacted me so much as it has others, like my wife and my daughter, who are very social and like to go outside and get outdoors. And actually, if we'll do one more for the beard world, the positivity thing is theoretically great. But what I've seen in 2 years is that sometimes people can't handle honesty, and honesty is viewed as negativity. And that's just not the way it is. Honesty is honesty. There is opinion, and sometimes there is fact. And if the fact isn't something you like, that doesn't make it negative. You got to learn how to deal with that fact if it's honest.
Yeah, but I definitely agree with all that. But sometimes when the people's opinions or facts, how it's delivered is not always the best.
Delivery is a key,
Delivery and tone is a key. So that's why the keyboard warriors, will get after stuff sometimes, because you can't really infer tone when you're behind the keyboard at all. David, you want to jump in?
Oh, for sure. I'll tell you the biggest thing that makes me grumpy is participation trophies. Like I don't understand the theory, and I'm not saying that whole if you're not first, you're last situation. But I feel like that has driven down like people's expectations of themselves. Like, oh, no matter what, I'm going to get a trophy. So it doesn't matter. That inner drive that people had when I was younger isn't there. And then work ethic that, I manage a company, and it's like the younger generation are just like, really, I want a paycheck, but I don't want to work for it. I can just go live in my mom's basement. If that's your thing, I'm cool with that. It's just, don't say you want a job and then come to the job and be like, well, wait, I have to work to be here on time. And traffic. I hate traffic.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
It's bad, but
those are some good ones. Those are some good ones, Dave. I like those.
And did you have another one?
Well, I was just going to say that. So, being grumpy is more of how we express our view of the world, not necessarily our view of the world.
Yeah.
So I can, and this really, really boggles the minds of some younger folks, not necessarily young folk, but younger folks, that we can be grumpy, that we can have a sarcastic sense of humor and still be in a good mood.
Yeah.
Maybe just how we express ourselves. And I've had people, send me comments on Instagram. And, I just want you to be in a good mood. I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to hop and skip and have a Hello Kitty shirt on to let you know that I'm in a good mood?
Right.
You got this visual going on in my brain now, Andy.
I did a whole thing, Andy, on therapy this week, and it's something I actually do with my students quite often, not all the time, about holidays, because I'm not a fan of holidays. And I went on about a 8 to 10 minute riff, and I had people from the crowd say, give me a holiday and I'll shoot it down and tell you why it's a horrible day outside of the couple that I do like.
That was a great segment, Joe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Brian. I got impassioned. I got very attacking, but I was having a great time. But, it just looked like, who is this jerk going nuts on the screen? So I completely identify with what you were saying.
Oh, yeah. And I think part of it is a generational thing, because Gen X, we were the latchkey kids. We grew up under a different set of circumstances.
Yeah.
And so I always keep that in mind. Now, truth be told, I don't have a problem with millennials. Some of them, now, the hipsters, yeah, Brian would have to edit out the entire sentence if I said what I had to say about hipsters.
Beep, 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 beep. So I got a question for you.
On one simple concept, they don't understand what the word irony means. Yeah. If they understood what the word irony means, I would have no problem with hipsters.
So
but and as an English teacher, I am quite sure you have at some point dealt with the frustration of people not understanding the difference between literal and figurative irony, things like that. So, yeah.
Now that we're going through COVID and some of the younger folks are having to deal with and see and process some things that are a little bit tough that they may not have had to in the past. Do you think that'll change and we won't have this big positivity movement anymore? You think they're just going to keep staying the same and keep being positive and pushing through, or we're going to see a different generation when they come up that it's going to be different? I don't know where that's going to go.
Have you seen the videos of the younger generation, like let's say the 18 to 25 generation right now, of what was going on when they said COVID was catchable and they wanted to go to spring break? They're like, no, we're going to go get hammered, dance around and have a great time. We don't care who dies. That's concerning. But I do think the generation after that generation, like the younger, let's say, I don't know, 3 to 18, like 3 to 15, probably that generation right there. I'm very hopeful. My daughter's 13 and I don't think and all of her friends and a good friend of ours, son's 14, like that age group, they're so smart now. Like they get it, and they understand. They are the perfect hybrid of kind of the way we grew up, and then the new generation. So I'm hopeful.
That might be the selfless generation when they come up
Mhm.
and being selfish. They might be selfless
That's a great
because they
point.
actually care about their grandparents when they're that young and stuff, right?
Right.
Well, the thing that scares me most about it is if you go back in history and look at the Black Death, there were two waves of that. The first initial wave took out the old people, and then it mutated and it took out all the children. And just over the past week or so, there's been news of a new strain, and it's either coming out of England or South America or South Africa, excuse me, not South America, South Africa. And it's showing to be more virulent and more harmful to children. So we as a species need to quit screwing around about it, get serious, do what we need to do to lock this down before it gets out of hand, before it does mutate so that they don't have a vaccine that hopefully will be beneficial. Not to be a bummer and everything, but just saying, quit screwing around.
Yeah.
Joe?
Once again, Dave had just from my impressions, just a spot on take. I've got my oldest daughter is 21. She lives away from the house. She's an education major. And she's really upset about how COVID is ruining both her school life and her social life. And then I've got 14-year-old twins who are here with their daughter Ariana, who most, if not all, you guys know has Down syndrome and has got a compromised health. And my daughter gave up her soccer season, and my son gave up his basketball season because we are keeping them home, so they are not interacting with their schoolmates. And all of that was for their sister, and they realized it doesn't make it any easier. It still hurts, and they can't play their sport, but they're not immature about it. They realize that there's a greater good that they're servicing here. So I'm right there with you, Dave. At least I'm keeping my fingers crossed. That's where it's going to go.
Me too.
Yeah, we'll stay hopeful for that.
There ain't no such thing as a good case of hemorrhoids.